Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to Adventures with Truth. I'm V, and Merry Christmas. I don't know how much Christmas has significance in your life. Maybe you are a Christian, maybe you're not. If you are, hallelujah. Merry Christmas. If you're not, well, I hope you still have a holiday today. India is one of those beautiful places where you actually get, guested holidays on, I think, like on holidays or excuse me, religious festivals of most religions, right? Hinduism, Sikhism, Islam, Christianity. So yeah, we have a good mix going on. So Merry Christmas. You know, back in my days, I remember Christmas used to be, much colder than it is these days. And back in my days, I mean, just in my childhood days, back when I was a kid, even I think like around the time of my birthday in like October, you'd have to wear sweaters and jackets would be out. And it's December right now. I think it's actually rather the end of December. And we're sitting here in t shirts. I mean, I'm sitting here for a suit, but in Delhi, especially, things are not much cold. People are saying, yeah, temperature is dropping and everything, but that's only in the night time. Not a lot of people are out at night, especially at the extreme hours, 2 in the morning, 3, 4 even. So yeah, most of the day is pretty hot. So I don't know what kind of Christmas is this. I hope it's a good one. Merry Christmas. Once again, I say it. And for the record, I'm actually, recording this episode a little in advance, like 2 or 3 days in advance. Because by the time you're seeing this on Christmas, I'll be on my annual Parvati Valley, Himachal trip to the mountains. Probably doing some trek, sitting there, enjoying the snow. Hopefully, we get snow. Because I'm really trying to make it a, cool and snowy Christmas or at least a New Year and everything situation. So yeah, let's see how it goes. I hope you're maybe, watching this episode from a vacation of your own. I know like a bunch of people I know, some guys at the gym that I go to, some former colleagues, they are going on their vacations too. So I hope, you're watching snow just like I'm watching snow by the time you're seeing this episode. And yeah, in order to start that trip I'm about to, I think I have a bus in about 16 hours from now. 15, 16 hours. Now I'll be on my way to the mystical land of Himalayas. Himachal this time and again, well. So yeah, it's like the gift season, right? Christmas is interesting. That Christmas is, I think, one of those festivals which has some kind of prevalence across India. There's not a lot of festivals, which are celebrated not just by the people, but also by these corporate companies and discount situations and holidays are going on and everything. So there's not a lot that. Plus it comes, uniquely close to the new year. And in that case, it becomes like a extended holiday situation, even if people doesn't really, subscribe to the ideology or the religion. So that's nice. But I like it, I like the way it has some similarities to Diwali even, which is, I would say, one of my preferred holidays, aside from the all the traffic and pollution you get on those days and everything. But still. So yeah, similarly to Diwali, you get, like there's lights around, you go to malls, places, markets and everything. I mean, it's of course a combined effort which is coupled with the celebration of New Year and everything, winter. And shortly after, we're going to have the Republic Day within a few weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So that's good. So I think it's, it is kind of a holiday situation even in India, even though, we don't primarily subscribe to the Christian faith or anything. It's a free secular country, actually a secular or free country in true sense. In some sense, like even Brits can save in those ways. 'Cause they are not as, free or open to ideas. At least we are going in that direction after a long time. It's been a long time, yeah. So the vibe of Christmas, yeah. I do like that vibe. Let's make some things Christmassy in here. Is it Christmassy? Is this Christmassy? I don't know. This is somewhat Christmassy, yeah. Merry Christmas, people. Jingle bells. Maybe Santa comes and tickle your balls. Hope you have some fun. Oh yeah, that's what's up. So yeah, I'm really excited for the, trip. But I am expecting a crazy amount of tourist situation going on there. I'm sure it's gonna be like a literal infestation of people that are just eating away in the mountains, causing pollution and everything. I will be also one of these people. I mean, I won't be causing any pollution as such, won't be littering and everything, but yeah, that is the product of human development. The more you go to these places, more serene places, you bring your gifts. Blah, blah. Can't even speak right now, huh? Yeah, so you bring your gifts along. And of course, these gifts are not as great as one would hope in the spirit of Christmas, but they are. People get to make some, money out of it. Their economic situation goes up, which is always a nice thing, right? And speaking of, pollution and everything in these places, especially touristy places, there is a common idea, I think, in the experts. It is one of the more leading and prevalent ideas out there, which is if you want to get rid of pollution, global warming, and all these problems that we have going on with the environment, the most effective or the optimal solution is make people as rich as possible as fast as possible. Because only once you have the money, you are not worried about, getting your next meal, about be it the education of your kids, health, medicine and everything, taxes, economy and everything is going on well. Only in that case, once you are removed from the basic harsh realities of life and those things are taken care of, then you are in a position to think about, your future. Because if you're not even certain about tomorrow, how are you gonna think about 50 years from now, 10 years from now, even 5 years from now? It won't even register to that brain. And maybe we should gift that brain a lot of money as soon as possible. Of course, it has to be merit based, but it still has to, increase the standard. Recently, I saw a lot of people are making an argument that, all these drillings and tourist development of highways in the mountains around of course, the Himalayas, but the Ladakh region, Uttarakhand, Himachal, Jammu, Kashmir and all there. It is partly, responsible for all the disasters that we are seeing, and it's also mostly like a result of tourism. But I think, again, it's one of those super left arguments which doesn't make sense, because once you get to the bottom of it, to actually develop a place, first of all, let's talk about why do you need to develop a place. Well, if you do not develop a place, if you do not have infrastructure there, if you do not have your physical presence there, then you cannot defend it. And of course, we know a lot of land of our country has been lost to China because we were not prepared. Well, we were not prepared to take action in 1962. We lost the entire Aksai Chin region because we didn't have infrastructure there. Our troops were not present there. And people from Delhi were not going to the Himachal and Ladakh region to celebrate their Christmas in snow. So you could say that Had tourism been there, we would have seen less of this problem. It's hard to take over a live and bustling town which is connected by roads and everything, and you can just bring in your troops, artillery, weapons, vehicles, and everything, supplies. Sure, I mean, we could have used our air force, but I think due to I would say, some incompetent people in the military at the time, Indian Army and Air Force, chose not to use the Air Force. We could have used the Air Force, like the Chinese army at the time were just sitting ducks. They couldn't do anything. They didn't even have aviation fuel. They didn't have a lot of aircrafts, which India knew because we had, talked to one of the defectors of the country. Somebody left China, people's, what's that? PLA, People's Liberation Army. They had a Air Force pilot, and he just, defected the country and he flew into Taiwan. So then, of course, the Americans investigated and questioned him for a long time, interrogated and everything. Then he was also headed to India. We had some access to him. We talked to them. So we actually knew. But had the loony and crazy people, because Delhi is filled with a lot of crazy people. It's like a magnet. Delhi attracts all the crazy and loonies from around the world, especially around the India, that is, and the nearby region. And they come to Delhi in search of opportunity and they create ruckus. Anyways, so had these people been going to, rather been able to go to these positions, we would have been at least able to defend it. Because how are you going to protect the mountains if you cannot even defend it? First and foremost, you have to be able to defend it. And only then you can talk about, of course, what are the shortcomings that's going on and how do you preserve it. It's the same argument like environmentalism, being eco-friendly and conserving, being sustainable. It's a good cause, and of course, as I advocate for it, and we should, of course, make like gradual and gradual improvements in that direction so that we have a less carbon and emissions footprint. But first of all, before we do any of that, we have to make sure that there's no nuclear war and we don't just kill everybody. We don't just, nuke the entire humanity back to Stone Age. We have to make sure that there are more Christmas to be celebrated before the civilization is reset and people come up with new gods and new religions and new things to talk about. And all these things will probably be gone depending on, which civilization or which part of the world survives, or which are the humans that survive and what kind of culture, what they brought up in or what they follow. And that's the same thing. To defend our borders, first of all, we have to have presence on our borders. And speaking of tunnels that we are drilling, I have come to know that tunnels are one of the most, I think, safe options that you can use in the mountains to travel, because the highways can, of course, they are quite vulnerable to landslides, avalanches and everything. The road can get knocked out very easily. But a tunnel, the way, especially if a tunnel has been made with all the, proper norms and with all the latest technologies that we know about, especially civil engineering, the tunnel would not just crumble. The structural shell of a tunnel, the circular, I would say, the structure, the hull itself, it's made in a way that it's not just gonna, transfer the force down perpendicularly or laterally. It's gonna spread the force across the entire structure. And if the structure has been built to withstand, I think, whatever, thousands or hundreds of thousands of tons of weight, then it's gonna, spread it across the entire structure, and we're not gonna get a particular weak link, which is gonna, cause the fracture or failure of the entire material itself. So tunnels are quite useful, especially in case of an earthquake. There can be like major landslides and rocks, boulders coming down on rocks or roads and the highways, which can even take out the vehicles. We wouldn't want that. China is taking out a lot of our equipment and everything, so we wouldn't want the vehicles to be taken out by nature itself. We have to make sure at least, the people who are going to fight for us should be able to reach the battleground first. They shouldn't be able to just get annihilated or lose their lives just because a big rock hit their truck. So these are the arguments, people don't understand. And on top of that, to develop a region, and or rather to develop a infrastructure. What's happening? Bad Santa. I'm not getting the things I want. So yeah, the infrastructure is gonna get supported by all the economy that is present in the region. You cannot just keep asking money from the central government. The area itself has to, generate some moolahs, as they say. Get some moolahs in your pocket. Make sure you have fat pockets. Then make sure you have deep pockets. And then you're gonna use the moolah in your pockets to fund whatever you want to do. Yeah. Give money, finance, everything that you want. Let's go ahead with that. So yeah, really excited to see, what some next Christmas bring around. And although as crazy as it is to see a huge number of people in the mountains everywhere you go, it's crazy crowded. I do see the benefit of it. But in the end, crowding places is just gonna force people like myself, the adventurers, to even go crazy or approach even more unapproachable destinations, places that even are harder to get to, crazier treks. And we just hope that it doesn't get too crazy. Too crazy for the moment, too crazy for our skill sets to handle. Because I've heard a lot of stories and even seen, I would say, a lot of documentaries. About, I think, 40, 50 at this point, about the Himalayas, trekking, things going wrong, mountaineers, people who were, summiting the Everest for the first time and everything, K2s, Nanga Parbats and all that. And yeah, there are some seasoned climbers who go, things happen, man. I mean, of course, I'm not a Parvatarohi in any sense. Yeah, so I'm just gonna stick to basic trails, treks that I've done multiple times. They're safe as walking down the street. If Delhi, I would rather even say walking down the street of Delhi in certain places at certain time of day is much more risky than trekking in the mountains at night in snow, in 2 feet of snow, with bare minimum essentials and a shoe that is falling apart, which is something I have done. And still, I would rather choose to do that adventure than, try to feel free and safe in Delhi. Things are crazy here. For the most part, things are fine in certain places, but as a whole, as a national capital, there are a lot of gifts for Christmas that we can get. And I hope, at least I hope, less pollution is there. Because I don't know how you're gonna take out the pollution that is inside people, which cause them to do all the violent acts, crimes and everything that they do. The pollution in the air, that's an easy one to fix. That should not take this long, given in 2023, I mean, it's almost 2024. But with all the technology, science, artificial intelligence we have, we should be able to figure it out pretty easily. I think it's the same case as time and time again has seen us. नियत ही नहीं है भाई. नियत नहीं है तो कार्य में प्रगति नहीं होगी. प्रगति नहीं है तो निष्कर्ष निकलेगा ही नहीं. आप जहाँ थे आप वहीं हैं. Right? So there's no direct or strong will to actually, I think, do something about it. How long shall I rant for this pollution situation in the Delhi? I think, in 15 years, 10 to 15 years, maybe even 5 years, you're going to see an exodus from Delhi. If you're familiar with the, exodus that's happening in California, people are just leaving the state, the laws are crazy and crime and everything. That's going to happen too. And I'll be lucky if I get to move to Himachal, live in a place where it snows every year, there's no landslides and weather disasters happening. That'd be a cool spot. That'd be a cool spot, I think. Yeah. Ladakh in some regions inland does fulfill all the criteria, but I wouldn't be wanna, I wouldn't wanna be that close to the Chinese. Never trust the Chinese, man. They're crazy. I mean, I'm not trying to stereotype, but there's this idea floating around, and I'm gonna present you that idea, and you can, find the truth in that idea as you do. Be it geopolitics, the way people are, the way nations are, the way corporate companies are. So that idea basically essentially says that you should trust a Japanese person before you trust a Chinese person. Now you cannot trust either of them fully, because Japanese people and Chinese people, they are always, first committed to their ethnicity or their race, and even their countries and parties in some cases. But the thing is, Japanese people always have had some, I would say a prevalence of honor culture there. There are things that they consider heinous, and they try to, uphold which they would call an honorable life. It's not to say that Japan did not commit a horrific genocide in World War II. They have done it. As because there is, capacity in all human beings to do such crazy and such appalling acts that you wouldn't even want to be associated with the species of Homo sapiens itself. You wouldn't even come to believe if you knew all the dark and crazy things that are happening in the world. In my experience, I've come to realize that, sometimes these cliches are true, and one of the cliches that is true is truth is stranger than fiction. And, I came across this idea that truth is stranger than fiction a long time ago. I think about almost 2 decades ago. And at the time, given what I knew about the things I know about and how much I knew about them, it didn't, resonate as deeply as it should have. But now, given all these years, I figured out some more things, learned some more things here and there, picked up some knowledge, picked up some trivia, some parts of history and the way things work. And yeah, truth is stranger than fiction. For instance, Merry Christmas, right? Christmas. It's the day of birth of Jesus Christ. So they say. I was not there to, see it or experience it. But yeah. So, on December 25th, Jesus Christ was born, and from his name, Christ, comes the word Christmas. Now, if you are somebody who is familiar with the pop culture, you might even know that in some old languages, ancient languages which are about the age of, I would say, 2000 years, 3000 years old, in those languages, the closest translation of the word Christ means a mushroom, which is covered in God's semen. Of course, if you are familiar with the powerful JRE, you might be familiar with the idea, but to those who are not, following one of the great institutes of internet that we have right now, the idea says that it means, the word Christ means mushroom covered in God's semen. Fascinating. Well, the mushroom which is actually, associated with Santa Claus and Christmas and everything is something which looks like, it's a red thing covered with white spots, as I would say, semen is. Maybe we should, start gifting that magic mushroom or whatever that mystical mushroom is as a form of Christmas. And then we can find our own kind of mushrooms and organic substances to gift on our other holidays as well. You can find one for Diwali, one for Guru Purab, one for Eid, one for Buddha Jayanti and everything, right? Chhat Puja. We can, and that would maybe serve us well. Maybe every day would be a Merry Christmas. Just think about that. If we are handing mushrooms on a day to day basis the way we do on our festivals, and we bring them to our relatives instead of bringing all these Cadbury's and sweets and juices and Tropicanas and reals and whatnots and motherfuckers and this and that and all that shit. If you could just get rid of that and instead of giving those things away, I mean, sure, you can keep the dry fruit, but you start gifting mushrooms to people. Of course, the newly released, I would say, debuted Nyaya Sahita of our country would have to be amended, which they are in process of. I hope they change a few more things which have been influenced by outer countries, other countries, America, Britain. Some things we did in the era of what, 1980s, 1982. We have some acts. They need some amendments too. But then, of course, after that, on all the major festivals which are, considered kind of holiday in India, we could start giving all these beautiful organic things. Think about that. You take some mangoes, bananas, some mushrooms, some more things, whatever grass you want to call it, and gift it to your relatives, your friends, your colleagues. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be amazing? Now that would be a, amazing Christmas. And people who are in the mountains, I think they have an easy access to all these things. Fruits grow easy there. Himalayan soil is quite fertile. Mushrooms grow easy there. Of course, right? So let's do something with it. If you are somebody who takes Christmas very seriously, maybe you should, try to do something about it. Think about it. Can we do something? Is there possibility for this state of mass hysteria to be alleviated from the population as we move forward, not into just a brave new world, but a wise new world? Is it too much to ask? All in the spirit of Christmas. All in the spirit of Christmas. Speaking of Nyaya Sahita, you guys are, I hope you are familiar. If you're not, let me tell you. Before I tell you that, let's have some water. If you're watching this, have some water. If you're watching this, some problem in the mountains, at high altitude, bodies get dehydrated very easily, especially in the cold. And even if you are in Delhi, water is going to help you process all that somewhat pollution out of your body, which you are getting just from breathing, water, drinking, eating hair. It's all the part of the daily life. Some people go and live in the wild, and they understand that there are threats that come with living in the wild and like an animal in the free reign. Of course, you can do anything, and you can behave in any fashion that you want, but your life expectancy will go down. And I think that's kind of a thing in Delhi. People come here, people do crazy things. People who have been living here originally, they also do crazy things. You get some, of course, benefits of living in the national capital, but you give away your national, not even national, I would say, a personal life expectancy. Your longevity as a whole individual goes down. Before my water levels drop further, let me have some water. You know, I have actually, I think, back in my childhood, been to one or two churches here and there on Christmas. My mom would, you know, we would actually, do some part in every festival, whether we follow to the ideology or not. It's a festival, go to the religious place, see the charm of it and everything. So I remember, the way churches used to be decorated, that was pretty good. I mean, we don't see a lot of churches, of course, but I remember there are like some certain major churches in Delhi. Hmm. It'd be kind of cool that if those churches suddenly get snow. I don't even remember it if it has ever snowed in Delhi. I do remember some hailstorms, but it'd be cool that all these fancy churches which have never seen snow ever, they are, decorated on the day of Christmas with lights and everything, Christmas trees probably. But we should, do something about it. Maybe they should do something about it. Why should I do something about it? I would rather sit here and talk. And on the day of Christmas, I will be hopefully, walking in the snow, giving gifts to my consciousness, having some fun with it, going out there. And yeah, the trees in Himachal do look like Christmas trees too. Of course, the pine trees, some deodar trees, they have to withstand snow, so they have that conical shape which is typically associated with the Christmas tree. And yeah, it's gonna be all that spirit. Maybe we should put that spirit back. Is red the color of Christmas? Is green the color of Christmas? Is red the color of Christmas? Are they both? But if we get both, we get brown. And brown is the color of a thing I did yesterday. It didn't smell so good. But what smells good is the, entire bakery situation which is going on. Yeah, that's the thing. Like baking, cakes and everything. Not particularly cake, but baking bread or baking dough is not a completely new concept in India. It has been going on for a long time yet. So I would say that bakeries are, for the most part, an Indian concept. They are a modern and commercialized version for your traditional halwais, but using yeast or growable material to have the dough raise and let it be sweet, which can be used as a dessert. It's not completely a foreign concept in India. So I would say bakery shops, these modern bake shops, they try to be very fancy, look all Western, French, and everything. Fuck that shit. I don't like this show. Give me a nice portion, let it taste good, and if it's reasonably priced, that's okay. Don't do all the facade and all the fake paraphernalia. Fuck all that. So these bake shops, I think, their business only goes up in the time of Christmas. Maybe it's because the cake is, I think, the primary dessert which is associated with Christmas. But not a whole lot. Not a whole lot of other things, or they celebrate that. So does it mean bake shops have been Christianized in some sense? Or does our culture just has given it a subtle undertone of being God's semen, and we're gonna keep our distance from it? Of course, who would want a pack of unwanted semen? But it's just of course a hypothesis. I wouldn't wanna go too deep in it, especially if I'm not the expert. I'd rather go and watch that podcast and have some fun after watching this podcast. So yeah, does it feel like the vibe of Christmas? It does, kinda. It's funny that if it was kinda snowing, I'd feel better. But given the climate of Delhi, it cannot snow here. It's not practical, and it would be, I think, climatically disastrous for the entire ecosystem as a whole. If Delhi starts getting crazy snow, then holy shit, what would happen to the brave soldier who's posted in Siachen. If Delhi is getting snow, it's getting sub-zero temperatures. Siachen is gonna go -70. It's gonna be insane. I don't even know if weapons work in that temperature. Everything freezes. Metal freezes. There's so much friction. I don't know if you can even fire it. Fire the gun and everything. Altitude is crazy. The wind is so crazy. Every breath you take, yeah, your lungs have to pay the price. That's something even I'm gonna try to experience, because I'm looking forward to some crazy cold in the snow. Taking all my fancy snow gear and make sure I am ready for an adventure. I don't want to ask for something that I would not be able to handle. I don't want to bite more than I can chew. But I'm trying to get a bigger jaw, so I can bite more, chew more, and swallow a whole lot of thrill on my trip. That's what's up. And of course, if there is something worthwhile that is worthwhile for vlogging, I will try to make a vlog for it on the channel. If you're hearing on Spotify, you can come over to YouTube, see that. If not, you can just subscribe on the YouTube thing. Hopefully you like it. Hopefully you enjoy it. And yeah, I realized something, that YouTube's, of course, the default audio library which they recommend for using blogs is not that great. Making blogs with a restricted music libraries, it feels that you have been tied down. Your creative input, your imagination it is tied to music in a lot of ways, which always fascinates me. Music is one of those art forms which is closest to my heart. It's the art form which I think cherish the most, be it emotionally, mentally. It helps me to get through stuff, we get motivated, inspired, and music is it just transcends. You can be illiterate in a particular field, be new to a subject, and you might not be, able to enjoy the greatness of arts or craft or marvels that these people create. But when it comes to music, it doesn't matter if you speak the same language. It doesn't matter if you have heard this kind of music. If it vibes, it vibes. If it vibes, if it's catchy, being catchy is different, but if it clicks to you, it clicks to you. Jingle bell, jingle all the way. Down, down, all the what? Riding on a sleigh. That's what they say. And then let's talk about, as I was saying, the Nyaya Sahita. Maybe, getting decolonized might mean that, the certain affinity that there is with other cultures might go down. It's not to say that, people who follow that faith celebrate it, but all those things that are new, this entire hype around Christmas is kind of new. And yeah, coming back to the new reform or judicial system. Now these reforms, for the most part, I am actually quite excited, other than 2 or 3 personal problems which are actually major problems, I would say, or they can be a major loophole which can be used to target certain individual in the future. For the most part, the reforms are, I think, they're good. They're calling it Nyaya Sanhita, then Nyaya Suraksha Sanhita, which is of course replacing the Indian Penal Code, Code for Criminal Procedure, and Evidence Act. So there was I want to give you one small example, which is going to bring home the point at how I see about this entire situation going on. All the laws are good, but I'm worried that it's still not like a perfect solution. Does it still give us the way or like a loophole which can be misused or taken advantage of in the future? For instance, there's a line, excuse me, there's a line or a new provision which says essentially that anybody who threatens or, you know, aims to threaten the integrity, sovereignty, unity, security, or economic security of India can now be, tried in the court of law. Now, this is a punishable crime, which earlier was not. Now, I am all for, people not trying to divide this country and keeping the entire integrity, the judicial system, the infrastructure intact, of course. We don't want an anarchy here. But when you talk about economic security, does it not highlight a loophole that now, just by using a term which is somewhat vague, is that economic security of the nation? Does that mean paying or not paying exact amount of tax that you owe, or maybe missing the margin a little bit? Would also be, can it be looked at as a threat to national security or national economic security? Because you didn't pay that money to the government, they didn't use it in a useless freebie scheme, or they didn't waste it here and there. So we have somewhat less resources. So does that mean this provision can now be used to people who have minor financial crimes? Now, of course, we should make sure that people follow all the rules, they pay their taxes that they're due, they can invest in all the government schemes to get some rebates on the taxes and everything. But does it mean that now we can just charge people for, I don't know, in the act of treason or terrorism by jeopardizing economic security? What do you mean by economic security? I don't actually want to, criticize the entire thing, because there are some really, I would say, really significant changes which are happening, which have been needed for about last at least 60 years. Some people even might say that should have been done 70 years ago, but I'll give them some, cut them some slack. At least, till Pandit Nehru died, things were hard to get done in the country. Of course, man was running the show. Should he have? That's an adventure with truth. We shall go on some other day. Some people believe something, some people believe something else. But the man also had something, a floral in his shirt. He used to put a rose in there. Rose has the color of Christmas, right? It's red and it's green. It's red and it's green. And yet, I don't actually see a lot of people use roses for that matter. They are kinda, restricted or reserved only for romantic associations, romantic procedures, gift giving, exchanging, bartering. The rose is the barter of love. You heard it here first. You may want to take it to the bank. You should write it down, even I don't realize sometimes I say these insightful things and I might forget it later, given the way I am and the way my mind behaves. But take all the wisdom you can before you go on your own adventure with truth. Write it down. Rose is the barter of love. It's also, I think, partly a result of marketing. So I don't really think that rose actually has some benefit or any association with it, with finding a mate, making love, finding love, sharing love, whatever that is. So yeah, that's roses. But I would still make the case that gifting mushrooms and fruits is better than gifting roses. In the name of Christmas or in the name of any festival that you would want to celebrate, go ahead. Think about the celebrations you would want to have. Everything is better with a little microdosing. I mean, that's what the people in, I would say, some places in the world are saying. Maybe those are things we should learn about. Now that we are, making changes to all the, I would say, cancerous remains of the, imperial rule of British over India. Now that we are getting rid of all these things, we are removing, I think, sedition from the entire situation. It's not gonna be a crime to criticize a government, which was essentially done by British, to make sure that people don't criticize the British government. It's not about criticizing your country or saying bad things about the country as a whole. It's about the government, and which is, I think, should be allowed, is allowed in India for in the name of free society. I mean, just think about the recent case that came out about Rahul Gandhi and the entire Congress. They were mimicking Vice President, this this old, nice, humble guy, man. And these schmucks were mimicking him, and of course, their wannabe prime minister, I think, candidate was recording a video. Now I'm sure there is a certain demographic, certain not smart people, not the brightest peas in the pod kind of people, not the most factually aware or pragmatic people who would support the extreme left arguments, and they would, they are the, I would say, target demographic of all these stupid shenanigans that they're doing. But I just think, man, like, is it all planned, or are these people actually that stupid? Is it that every idea these days that the Congress party is getting is a stupid one, is a bad one? Did somebody just, put a magic curse on their brain? Has the thinking part, the cerebellum, and even medulla, for that matter, gone rogue? Are they even functioning? How many active brain cells do you have? You just walk into traps, right? You see somebody mimicking something, you try to make a media or like a video out of it. You think it's gonna be nice media, nice content I've got there, and the thing blows over. Now, I should give credit to the Mr. Vice President, because he did maintain his composure. Of course, then there were two tweets made from his side. PM Modi has expressed his sadness over the event and everything. Because, of course, right? Just because somebody is doing something bad and stupid and they have malintent does not mean you should, lose this opportunity or give away this opportunity to not remind people how you are the better man. Which, of course, in this case, I believe he is the better man. But in politics, I don't think, people should miss these opportunities. These are the games you have to play. These are the opportunities you have to look for. These are not the mistakes that you should be making as the wannabe leader, but these are the things that slip ups that happen. It's common with human beings. I'm sure Santa would not have been had he been real and alive and functioning, living in the North Pole and everything. Try to finger a polar bear up the butt. He wouldn't even be able to make, all the gifts in time at every house, right? Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. So even I think, right? Some people might say, their holiday is perfect, their religion is perfect, but nothing is perfect. There's always some exception, some problem with something. Otherwise, we won't have all this chaos running around. If the entire world was completely deterministic, which it might be for all I know, but if it was completely a closed system, you wouldn't see so much turbulence. A closed system does not change as much. The equilibrium is achieved quite relatively fast compared to an open system where, of course, there is practically no limit. And yet there is, which means our assumption was wrong, and it is an open system. And when you apply this analogy to Congress party, it says it's an open system. All the brain that is, or that used to be, is leaving the party, and what remains is, well, some people doing some things which might be considered funny, but it just goes there and it comes around like a boomerang and hits you in the face. Somebody made a video, somebody else made a video of him making a video. Now we have two videos. Making a video of a video, and people sharing the video. Inception, cool, confusion, excitement? I think not. But that is, I think, so far, that's what has been happening this week. That's the week leading up to Christmas. I hope the week that is leading up to the New Year is better, somewhat better. The news is filled with just stupid shit these days. Has anybody seen now that there's not, as much talk of Gaza anymore, Israel-Gaza war? Did they get Christmas? What are the people there gonna get for Christmas? That's gonna be crazy. Give me a second. Let me help my brain cells, disperse the electrical charge faster. And water is a good conductor of electricity. So it's gonna maybe, put that current back in the state. So yeah, this current state. I'm sure people there are not waiting for Santa or Merry Christmas. For all they know, people on either side, be it Israel or the Gazans, as they call it, or the people in West Bank, nobody knows what are they gonna get for Christmas. The other side could, send a bomb from the distance. It could look like, oh, Santa's coming, riding on his sleigh, and it gets closer and closer and closer. You're hearing the sirens, and boom, that's your gift. Yeah, that's your gift on Christmas. Instead of celebrating the birth of Son of God, you get to meet your God. Now, lucky for you, if whichever faith you believed in comes out to be true, you're gonna figure out after you die. And if you don't, which means you missed a shot to live a being who has free will, who has free thinking spirit, and is not bound by the remains of history or the things they were taught as a kid, the lessons they were taught in their youth, the festivals that they used to celebrate because people before them used to celebrate, and the people before them. It makes me think, should we make our own festivals now? It'd be kind of cool. We have some national holidays or national festivals. Could we make it? Like in the West, there's this concept, Halloween. Halloween, for the most part, it's a made-up thing. In India, of course, we have a lot of festivals, but to every person, they have a bunch of festivals and associations, which is close to them. And that's the thing they wanna, celebrate the most. They wanna spend their most money, most time, most emotions there. But I think in that case, if you're gonna spend so much time, money, emotions on any particular festival, you should even have the sovereignty to start your own. And when I say start your own, I say start your own festival. It could be like a music festival, carnival, whatever. But I'm not saying to start a whole religion, because you don't start a whole religion, start from scratch. No. First, what you do is you start a cult. And then once you have a cult going, you have to make sure it stays viable, So you have to get some money, some resources, some backing. You have to get people involved. And if you are lucky enough and you are able to survive it for a few decades, maybe a century, maybe 2 centuries, once the founders of this cult or this pseudo thing have died off, and the people, their children have died off, of course, through natural life and natural causes, living an entire human lifetime. And after few generations have come and gone, that's when you have still in a position where you get to see that this cult is being followed by an exponentially larger audience. At that point, you can consider it or even declare it as a new religion. There's a process to it. You cannot be like these crazy guys, Sadgurus and all these gurus and babas you have there. It's going on in media and everything. Like, shut your trap hole, people. Shut your trap hole. Everything you say is a trap. And you should get a slap for it. That's why I call it a trap hole. Just because you look like shit doesn't mean you have to talk like that too. You can talk about nice things, not make things up. You don't just get to start a new religion or even ride on the back of new religion. First, you start a cult. Right? You make it viable, make it grow. Make sure it grows to your lifetime, then your kids' lifetime, and their grandkids' lifetime too. After that, in your spirits, if you are stars, if you are, there is such a thing as soul, and you are lurking around 500 years from now, then you will maybe get the chance to see the religion you have created. Maybe you can name it something else. Or you can just celebrate the ones that came before. You can choose to use the schemes which are, of course, made available by the corporate companies and everything. You can use that to celebrate. You can have cake, a lot of sugar. It's the festive season. And of course, it's somewhat winter. I mean, I don't even want to call this weather winter anymore. There's no struggle anymore, right? Winter should mean struggle. Everything is difficult in winters. Right now, things are just as cumbersome and idiotic as somewhat summers. But as I was saying, given it is winters, it's easy to, get off the horse, go to the side, do a little some, celebrate, be it vacation, be it gift giving, be it sharing mushrooms, going to the snow. I think all these things, just point towards a point. Yeah, funny, right? That's how English language works. Points toward a point. And I'm not talking about a dot. The point being, oh my god, it's deep on so many levels. The point being, these festivals just, mostly teach us one thing. Celebrate with the people you know that you care about, the ones around you. You want a gift, give gifts, get gifts, share some gifts. You're free to do it. Once in a while, you can have crazy amount of dessert. You can have fucking cake and laddus and everything, kheer, whenever you want. Be it breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Here and there, not too much. Not in excess, of course not. And you can do these things. So do we actually really need, festivals? Can't we make sure all these communal things that make us feel good? There's a vibe around any festival you see, especially if you go to the particular community which have that faith and they celebrate that festival. Everything is just vibrant. People are just happy. And it's not, as I said, it's not because of snow or weather. It's not snowing at most places that follow or celebrate Christmas right now. Some places in Europe and North America might get snow, but that's about it. The Australians have to celebrate their entire Christmas in the season of summer. So no, there is no change in reality. There is no change in weather. The economic situation of people doesn't actually in any significant way goes up or down. It just stays in that particular range. Rather, you end up spending more money because you're doing, basically what you're doing is consumerism, as they say. You go to buy one thing, you buy 100 things. Yippee-ki-yay. Yippee-ki-yay. So should we take the lessons, do all these things, but do them whenever we want them? Maybe we should, try to make every day Merry Christmas. Jingle bell, jingle bell. If you're lucky enough, somebody will jingle your bells, tickle your balls. I hope they do. Especially if you're out in the snow, hunting for food. Come back home. You want to celebrate Christmas. Jingle bells, people. Jingle bells. Now why should I wrap this up? I should get some sleep. Because the next sleep I'm going to get is about 2 days away. After doing some crazy amount of excursion, some trekking, that's when I'm going to get the next batch of sleep. I should pack my things up. Pack all these camera gear up because I'm going to, need it in the mountains. And yeah, get ready for a Christmas in the snow. I hope you have an amazing Christmas, people. I hope you have holiday. Unfortunately, if it's not your off day, you have to work. Hope you find some joy. Have some cake. Go to a mall. Go to a church. See some beautiful lights. Just enjoy the colors of life, people. Enjoy the colors of life. Enjoy the colors of Christmas if you want. If you are Christian, sure. Otherwise, enjoy the colors of life. This is Adventures with Truth. I'm probably in the mountains right now when you're seeing this. I'll see you next episode right before the New Year. Or maybe on the New Year. See you next time.